Hello again everyone and welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your host Derailious, and today we're going to be going over Skyblock Update 0.23.5, which is now released on the main server, including some information for the next year of Skyblock content, notably even some combat content. Before we begin though, I just want to say please make sure to like and subscribe down below as it really helps out the channel a lot, and use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order. Without any further ado though, let's get started. Alrighty, so right in front of us is the 0.23.5 patch notes. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth on some of these features because a lot of this stuff I already covered in previous videos, but we are going to go over the high-level overview of a bunch of these changes. The first is one that people have seen a lot before, the Dungeonbreaker, and I think that it's in its best form. While in the Catacombs, you consume 1 charge to break a block, 20 blocks can be broken at a time, and they reappear after 10 seconds. 2 charges are regenerated each second. So it has 20 total charges, which is very, very nice. You get this from Ophelia for 500 Wither Essence, and allows you to mine through most blocks in the Catacombs. There are a couple of limitations. You can't go around room boundaries, crypts can't be broken with the Dungeonbreaker, and the charges obviously regenerate. So that is, a bit of a change there. But with the release of the Dungeonbreaker, you will no longer be able to stonk with previous methods. Basically, this allows them to use a lot of anti-cheat measures that they had to turn off in the past. So this is a good change because it allows them to basically get rid of 1.8 in their backend. It allows them to fully focus on 1.21 content, which appears to be their goal. Another notable change here is the new /pity system. The big stuff here is basically you can get hoppity eggs from it. Every 500th egg you open is guaranteed to be a mythic. Every 2500th you open is guaranteed to be a divine. Also, keep in mind, there is some amount of retroactive progress, and whenever you get a new one, it is in fact a new one. It's not going to give you a rabbit that you already have. There's also Garden Pity, which is pretty nice. It allows you to get the Spaceman after 3,000 visitors. There's also some stuff for the Moonglade Marsh. You can also view your Crimson Isle trophy fishing progress in there, as well as your Glaciite mineshaft stuff in there. So all of that is very, very nice. Great improvements in that regard. Next up, Ironman Ws. This is kind of a big one. There are a few improvements here to the Ironman profile. The first is that there are Ironman Shen's auctions. There are about half the regular quantities of the items available in Shen's auction, but you are completely separated. The numbers may need tweaking, but they want to see how it plays out first, so they are willing to bump up the numbers if things aren't great, whatever. Keep in mind, purchasing items will co-op soulbind the item. You're not going to be able to just get the item and then use this next feature, de-ironing, to de-iron your profile and then sell them for a huge profit. You're not going to be able to do that. Speaking of de-ironing, you can do that now. If you are tired of the Ironman experience and you are a solo or co-op profile, you can do so. Keep in mind, the rules here are relatively strict. If you're on a solo profile, you'll basically be told over and over again, hey, do you really want to do this? And it'll happen for a long period of time depending on your Skyblock level. If you have a Skyblock level, I think above 100, I think it's 35 days. So you really have to be certain that you want to do this. If you're on a co-op, your entire co-op will get messages related to this. They'll all have to agree. If anyone disagrees or if anyone doesn't vote, it goes back to the drawing board. So once again, everyone will have to agree on this. It is a permanent process. You're not able to go back on this. So do keep it in mind, but I think it's a great feature for those who are maybe tired of the Ironman experience. A couple other major changes. The Cosmetic auction house here is something that you can now access. If you are on an Ironman profile, you can buy up a bunch of different things, notably dyes and skins and things like that. A terrible thought that I had is this allows Ironman players to buy carries. If you are getting carried, someone else on a normal profile can put up an item, maybe, I don't know, a rune for 10 million coins, whatever, it could be any price, and you as an Ironman can buy it, meaning that you send them the money. You can't sell stuff here, obviously, so that part is pretty notable. But oh boy, is this going to create untold horrors and create generational debt in some regards. Regardless, the Cosmetics browser is here to stay. There is also an Ironman guild. There is basically nothing to do here. You can go to the guild, you can speak to Ian, he tells you to start a profile, whatever. There's also the other guys in the background, but they don't actually do much at all. There are also a ton of quality of life changes, although I'm not going to go over literally everything here. Some of the big stuff include Thorn Shards are now exclusively dropped from Floor 4 Master Mode 100% of the time, in Emerald Chests or above as a bonus. Scarf Shards are dropped from Floor 2 Master Mode 100% of the time, in Emerald Chests and above as a bonus, and they give up to 20% more class XP in dungeons, which is very, very nice. Some other big changes here: if you've participated in multiple farming contests, you'll receive the best metal out of the crops you farmed. This is very good. It's also seemingly retroactive. So if you hop in game right now, you should be able to pick up a bunch of metals that should be of higher quality than what you've gotten before. Very, very nice, very solid change there. Bobbin time also got a change. It's not really a buff. They just made it so it goes from 10 to 5 max players and doubled the stats per player. This is just flatly better than what existed before, in my view. They added a ton of things to both the foraging sacks as well as the bazaar, so do keep that in mind. There's the mythic armadillo pet. You can upgrade it using a frozen scute. You get those from Umber, Tungsten, and Vanguard corpses. Those also allow you to use 10% less energy while tunneling, and they have 400 total energy, so do keep that in mind. They also removed the travel scroll to the crystal nucleus's MVP plus requirement, so if you are a non, congratulations, you can now go to the crystal nucleus. In terms of mithril powder buffs, there's quite a few things here. Notably, a lot of the participation bonuses and a lot of the other bonuses related to the events have been greatly improved. Commissions now give you a lot more powder, and also they give you double powder if you're Heart of the Mountain 10. A lot of the quest rewards got bumped, powder gas got bumped, golden goblins, diamond goblins, etc. Also, even the powder pumpkin effect has gone from 5% to 15% mithril powder. Also, Dwarven Treasure Reforge, which is the royal one I believe, has gone from 5% to 15% as well. Another very, very solid bump. Some other big changes here: Glaciite Mineshafts now spawn with at least 10 mobs. Peridot Mineshafts are completely different. They look a lot larger and they have completely changed around in terms of their size and shape and everything like that. They also bumped up the amount of Mineshaft pity you get from quite a few of the gemstones in the game, so keep that in mind. They also increased the daily NPC sell price cap to 500 million coins for all profiles, and they doubled the quantities of Artifacts of Control, Pandora's Boxes, and Shen's Regalia at Shen's Auction. Keep this change in mind with the Ironman change from earlier with Ironman Shens. They do apply for this, which means that effectively you have the normal profiles amount of those items on Ironman. I know that kind of sounds weird, but do keep that in mind. In terms of some other big changes here, there's some stuff related to mayors. Now they are guaranteed to get their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th perk after their 3rd, 5th, and 7th appearance, which is very, very nice. They also have a 50% chance on their 2nd, 4th, and 6th appearance to get that perk early. There are also a few other changes to the game. Notably, Scorpion Bow got changed around. It is now the Spider Short Bow. Its crafting recipe is way easier to make, and it deals double damage to the Tarantula Broodfather egg sacs. It's also now a short bow. The Mosquito Bow deals triple damage to the egg sacs. And here's where the fun stops. The egg sacs have been changed. They have been changed around a lot. Tier 2, there's 2 egg sacs and they're 3 health each. Tier 3, or rather Tier 4, there are 3 egg sacs and they're 6 health each. And Tier 5, there are 4 egg sacs and they are 9 health each, which means that this is a little bit slower than on main, even if you're using the Mosquito Bow. And if you're not using the Mosquito Bow, get the Mosquito Bow. You should be using that. I don't love this. This is kind of whatever, but this is a change to Tarantula. A big nerf here is to Maniac Miner, though. The pickaxe ability has been nerfed to cap out at 500 mining fortune. They anticipate this to be around a 10% cut to hourly rates from their testing. Mining pure ores in an early game mining area was never intended to be the best money-making method for mining, and they'll look into adjusting gemstones in the future. Hopefully this happens sooner rather than later, because for now this is just a nerf. They've also nerfed Enchanted Hoppers to only give 70% of an item's NPC sell price, so do keep that in mind. Also, Reaper and Final Destination have been nerfed. If you take them off, you don't get their abilities, so no more swapping related to those items. There's a bunch of other changes as well. Soul Eater got nerfed. It's now capped at 1 million damage outside of dungeons. They're basically just trying to do a bunch of balancing changes to the game. Note that they have buffed the price of some of the gemstones here from 3 to 4, keep that in mind, and there are also a ton of other changes to a bunch of NPC sell prices throughout the game. I'm not going to go over this list again, I already did in a prior video, but it is a lot of improvements. Some of the highlights I will point out here are Bob and Scriptures went to 250k coins, Sorrow is now at 50,000 coins, and on top of that, Refined Minerals are at 100,000 coins. Those are really the big ones. For this last segment, we have a what's next. So what's coming to Skyblock in the future? The greenhouse, with no surprise, is coming relatively soon. Later this year, they're planning to release the biggest addition to the garden since its initial release in February of 2023. This update includes the main flagship feature of the greenhouse, a revamp to farming tools, a nerf to crop milestones and visitor milestones, and a new powder-like currency for farming, which is retroactive, by the way. You'll be able to spend this new currency on earnable and upgradable farming chips, which will provide a boost to all garden-related content. The goal with this is to make garden progression feel smoother and more rewarding through regular upgrades as you play. Keep in mind, you are able to view the previous sneak peek of the greenhouse whenever you want to. Next year, we are also going to get the second Foraging Island. They have begun pre-production of this second Foraging Island, which is slated to come out next year. They'll provide more updates on the project as they get closer to release. Next year, they also have two major goals: new combat content and more latest version features. They are really excited about all the new cool things that they can go off and show us and whatever. But they want to remind everyone to move over to 1.21 Plus if you haven't already. All of their major content updates planned for 2026 are latest version only. You will not be able to play any of the new stuff, period, including combat stuff, if you're on 1.8. I can't say this enough. Move to 1.21 if you haven't already. In the near future, they plan on only supporting the two latest content drops in addition to 1.8.9. This will allow them to utilize even more cutting-edge features for updates. That's about it. Overall, I think 0.23.5 is definitely more positive than it is any amount negative. The only real negatives I can think of are some of the balance nerfs to things like Maniac Miner. I hope they really look at gemstones like in the immediate future and not like 6 months down the line. But aside from that, things are alright. Also, the nerf to the Terra boss just kind of feels weird. But aside from that, things are fine. Good changes here. I'm overall happy with the situation. Also happy to see things like de-ironing, Ironman Shens, the pity system is great, and obviously the Dungeonbreaker. In terms of bug fixes, there isn't a ton of major changes here other than the Gauntlet of Contagion change, which is kind of a nerf here, but there is also stuff related to fixing Hina's chapters. So if you've been stuck at Reach 50 sweep, Reach 200, or get 100 pressure resistance, you should now be able to do that. Congratulations. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the release of this update as a whole. They released a lot of improvements on the Alpha Network. The original form of this update was not too great, and I'm happy that they took into account a lot of feedback here and things like that. Notably on the NPC sell price stuff, I think they did a good job on that as a whole. I'm not the most fond of the Maniac Miner change. I don't know why they would do that without actually releasing the improvements to gemstones. It kind of feels weird to be like, hey guys, here's a nerf. By the way, we're going to buff this other thing later. For now, you're going to be nerfed. Like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I would love to see them go back and actually add those improvements, like, in the very near future. Like, next couple weeks. Don't let this sit for another 6 months. Aside from that, though, the other changes make a lot of sense. I've seen complaints about Reaper armor and Final Destination, and those armor sets were broken, guys. Like, you could do ridiculous things that don't make logical sense. Skip through multiple phases of pretty much every Slayer that actually was worth anything in this game. Kill bosses almost instantaneously. They needed to go. I'm sorry. They just needed to go. If you're worried about them not having some sort of use, that's a complaint. But the solution to that is not leaving them in the game in a completely busted form. I'm sorry. I don't get on board with that. Regardless, I'm very excited to see that they're focusing on combat content in the near future. I think combat content is the way to go for future releases, whether that be in the form of Guardian Slayer, whether that be in the form of just new islands and new areas to go and new bosses to fight. I'm very excited to see what they have planned, but once again, at the phase where Hypixel, where they need to walk the walk. So far, this is a great step. They've knocked out 3 pretty solid updates. I think that means that, Hoppity V4 is likely off the table, but this includes Ironman Ws, it includes Dungeonbreaker, and I think it includes whatever they want to do with Hoppity. I would love to hear what you guys think about this update down below. Enjoy the Great Spook event. That's also active, but there's nothing really new related to that, so I didn't really cover it. Feel free to get the items. I think I have a few guides from about a year or 2 years ago. Anyway, look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.